5 mistakes new filmmakers make. I've wanted to make this video for a hot minute and I just thought, why not now? The creative arts is a really hard world to be in, both recreationally and professionally, and in this video I just wanted to be real about it. Just share some tips on what I've learned as a filmmaker, and I don't think they're very generic, I think they're very unique to what I've gone through, and so the more I can share and put out into the world, the better I'll feel about it, because if I've gone through it, then I can at least help other people avoid that. So the first mistake I see is number 1, themes, or rather the lack of. Something I see forgotten by a lot of people, and definitely students, is the idea of themes, and it's something that has moved you in some way, shape or form. Whenever you're experiencing a story through the means of music, art, gaming, film, there is always some form of substance, and this substance is a theme, also known as a message, which is portrayed throughout the medium. And the art is the execution of these themes. Let's look at a simple example, I don't know, like Harry Potter, kids' parents get chefed by Snake Man, and throughout the story, little Harry, he just wants cold-blooded revenge, and he is willing to do anything to get it, such as using his relationships with elves to his advantage. Dobby's in the story too. But the real theme, of course, is the philosophies surrounding death. I'm not going to talk about the writer of these themes, of course, because that's a can of worms. So find your voice, find your message, and the story will form. Martin Scorsese once said that the best stories are the ones which are most personal. And it's true. Mistake number 2 is not letting your story breathe. As hard as it can be sometimes, don't force yourself to make things happen if they don't want to happen, and instead try to open your mind up to many more logistical and creative solutions. Getting caught up on small details can really hinder your ability to say something. If you're on a shoot and something might not be available and you have to take a different alternative, or an actor wants to try something new, something they feel a bit more freedom with, just let it happen. I know a lot of directors are perfectionists, but if you have little resources available, you need to be able to adapt. And this is something I found initially quite tricky, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist too. I like things being where I want them, and so when they're not there, you have to switch it up, and sometimes you can do some really interesting stuff. It's not like you should let go entirely unless that's what you're interested in, because that kind of puts you in the realm of experimental rebel filmmaking. But when you're new, just don't be afraid to mess around. A lot of directors, when asked the question, how do I develop as a filmmaker by young filmmakers, one of the most common answers is to just pick up a camera and film something, and it's absolutely true, because that's where you start to learn how to use the lens to your advantage and tell your own story, to manufacture your own vision. It's an art that takes a long time to master, and there is always something to learn. This is why I like documentary films so much, because it's often very situational, and it happens in a moment, and you need to be able to craft this into a narrative. And one of the best documentaries I could recommend to new filmmakers is Senior, which is the documentary about Robert Downey Jr.'s father. It's such a well-made and just a heartfelt documentary, and it's really interesting looking into the mind of Robert's father, because you can really see how he developed his creative vision. It's like when Robert Downey Sr. just looks at stuff, he's on a completely different wavelength. I mean, he looks at some ducks and he thinks about the composition, or where they might be used in a story, or how you could edit it to craft something like rebellious or something totally bonkers, but it just works in his mind. And he can have a timeline in his head, and it's just beautiful to see him just walk around and observe different aspects of life. So don't be afraid to take elements from rebel filmmaking, experimental filmmaking, and implement them into your own work, because this is becoming a common theme now, and this is the reason A24 is doing so well, because it's bringing in directors who implement these creative and out-of-the-box ideas, because in my opinion, that's some of the best art possible. You can blend the two worlds. You can be a bit of a rebel filmmaker and mix that with contemporary filmmaking. Okay, this is a very important one. Mistake number 3, be self-critical. One of the biggest plagues in the film industry are people who think they are absolutely amazing at what they do, far beyond anyone else, when they're really not. But they'll happily talk about how capable they are of anything, all until the job actually comes around and they just wander around and have no idea what to do. And they just can't do it to the standard they told other people they could. This is a very common occurrence in art schools, film schools, whatever, and it's a really good thing to have confidence in your own ability. But to really understand and appreciate the art form, you need to have a level of discipline, and you need to be honest with not just yourself, but with others. The great majority of people in the arts industry are absolutely lovely people who want nothing more than to just create good stuff. It's like a pit of control uncontrolled chaos. Like whether you're developing anything or you're on a set, people are just going to be shouting at each other, just having a go at each other if things are going wrong. But then at the end of the day, when it's all wrapped up, everyone will hug each other, they'll have a pint and they'll just apologise and say, look, it was all for the greater good. And they're like, yeah, don't worry, man, we'll do it next time. And then next time they shout at each other again, but then it's all cool again. It's a great, so we love it. But you won't get that hug at the end of the shoot if you are delusional and you don't put the effort in to better yourself. My advice is to try your best to surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people far above your own level so that you can learn from them, so you can develop yourself and, aspire to be better. It takes a long time to learn and you're going to make mistakes, and that is a very good thing because that's the only way you can develop. But if you make those mistakes and continue to not learn from it, that's an issue. But in a nutshell, in my opinion, just be nice. Just be honest and try to constantly improve yourself every single day with whatever you're going for, because it's a fast world out there and you can't get complacent. For me, I'm not that good at cinematography, but it's something I really want to get much better at because I love photography, so it's the other side of the spectrum. And I know and I'm self-aware that I need to work really hard to get to that point, and that's the drive you need to have. Okay, so this is a weird one, but I think it's something that's very important when it comes to the commercial side of things. So number 4, find your preference. If you really want to work as a professional freelancer or work in a production house, you need to find what you're really good at and market yourself as such. Now, this isn't a concrete thing and there are loopholes, and in fact when you're starting off as a creative, I absolutely recommend learning the foundation of anything. Learn the hardware, learn the software. If you're a creative, if you're a director, learning how to edit, learning how to shoot, or basic cinematography will actually help your own vision and allow you to see your film in your own mind and allow you to edit it in your mind. It's one of the best advantages you can have. Being a jack of all trades isn't a bad thing at all. In fact, it's kind of what I consider myself. But if I didn't know about the importance of this earlier, I would absolutely say focus on one aspect a lot more than everything else and really try to hone in your skills into one area that you really enjoy. If you like cinematography, learn light, learn composition, learn rigging, learn everything to do with making motion on screen. Same if you like editing, learn the softwares, learn how to correctly build a narrative. There's all these different things that you can delve into, but there's so many branches and it's very hard to tackle all of them and be a professional. If you want to be a gaffer, learn how to be a gaffer. If you want to be a sound mixer or a sound recordist, go do that. That's a fantastic industry to be in. Just dive into your chosen world as much as possible and learn about one thing as much as possible. And then if you're comfortable, you can try a different thing, move on to other things. It's about experimentation, but at the same time, commercial kind of comes first when you're trying to make money. So mistake number 5, and this is the most important in my opinion. Number 5, communication. Talk more. Be open more. This is one of the biggest issues that I faced in a shoot. Now, if you're slightly introverted, and I am, it is really tricky to talk a lot, but when it comes to filmmaking, creating stories, you need to be as transparent as possible with the crew, with the actors, with every single contributor involved with the project. You need to nail it. I am talking absolutely, undeniably, crystal clear. Also, if you can talk more, especially when you're working on other people's sets, it's networking. You can communicate with other people, and if those people like you and you can bounce off each other, then that could provide you with new opportunities. You could say, hey, if you're interested, I could help you out on this role, I could help you out on this project. And that's how you build your portfolio, and that's one of the most amazing and important things you need as a creative, because it is all about experience, and communication takes you to that experience. It's a collaborative world, and if people are communicating and people are connecting with each other and networking, you have to be in the loop. You need to put yourself out there and market yourself and say to people, here I am, this is what I do. But there is one thing I really need to establish to you, and it kind of goes in line with the second one. Please, for the love of everything, don't take a single person for granted. Don't use anyone, because if you come across as, oh, I'm networking with you, I'm talking with you, I want to use you to propel myself, I guarantee people will see through it. And it's one of the worst things you can do, and honestly, if you're connected to that form, just let them go, because ultimately it's about collaboration. It's about bouncing from each other and learning from each other and achieving things together. It's unfair. in a sense. It's completely unfair. So don't be that person and use other people, because you'll get found out. But going back to the creative side of things, if you're not communicating, then everyone's just going to be running around like headless chickens. And if you want to get your idea across, your theme across, anything you need to get across, it's not going to work. For example, if I want to establish some of my ideas to the set department and they set things up, I want them to be able to decorate this environment with the things that propel the story. If you're not talking about what you need, then it doesn't work. You will end up with a product that is way worse than it could be if you actually just talked to people. One of the best things you can do creatively and logistically is give yourself some time to tell people what you want. And I know time is very hard to come by, but if you can just take a window of this prior to any deadline that's expected from you, if you have one, please tell your actors, please be closely knit with your actors, allow them to develop this character, allow them to create this character, and not come onto set being some shell and not knowing what exactly they're going to do with it. They should really know prior to the shoot. Overall, if you know what you want, you can tell other people what you want. And if they know what you want, they can help you craft a project which you're all going to be happy. And I promise, if you build yourself a good team and you talk with all of them, you're going to get something done. But anyway, that's about it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you found it somewhat educational. If even one of these ideas sort of sparked a bit of like, oh, okay, I can try doing that, then that's awesome. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and take care.